Clannad is considered to be a masterpiece when it comes to romance. That is very arguable, considered I've seen people love or hate the series. So I got to thinking, why don't I point out the pros and cons of Clannad, including Afterstory? I do have to warn you, there will be spoilers. In order for me to point out different strengths and weaknesses, I have to dive completely into the series. If I didn't talk about spoilers, you would only get half an argument. Now with that out of the way, let's start talking about Clannad. It's strange how normal the anime can be, yet have magic and other dimensions mixed into it. But for some reason, they don't really overlap one another. It shows a perfect blend of real-world situations and unnatural phenomenons. I guess because it's an anime, I can't blame it for being out of the ordinary, since, you know, it's a fucking animation, where impossible things can come to life thanks to creativity. Also, the anime doesn't take everything too seriously. It's humorous at times, and the fact that the weird magic stuff isn't complicated to understand or that it's over the top makes it easier to accept it. Seriously, what genre is this anime? You can claim it's high school, but it doesn't take place in high school all the time. You could also say it's a harem, but not necessarily. Yeah, Tomoya hangs out with a lot of girls, and a couple of them wanted to get into his pants, but that stops in Afterstory. One could say romance, but it doesn't turn into a romance until about halfway through Afterstory, then it stops again. It could be fantasy, but it's very minimal that it really doesn't count. It could be comedy or drama, and actually, I don't really have any arguments against that. Who knows? Maybe it's a mix of all these genres, or perhaps it doesn't know which one to be. There are some side characters that no one really cares about. This is most evident in Afterstory when the series starts. There are a few character arcs that happen to people you either knew somewhat or only saw for a few seconds. But there was one guy I completely forgot in Clannad. It was that blue-haired guy that sang or something. Look, I forgot his name already. Anyways, when I finished Clannad, I bought it on eBay. When I rewatched it with some of my family, I pointed that guy out and said, oh yeah, you'll never see him again. And guess what? He did. And he's actually a little more important to the story than I thought he was. But the fact that I forgot him immediately tells you that not all of these characters are great. There are these 3 girls in Afterstory that just show up during a couple of events, and I could not, for the love of me, figure out why they are here. Are they the girls that were trying to start a club, and were telling Nagisa to fuck off? Though there are forgettable characters, there are definitely others that you hold dear to your heart. Tomoya, Nagisa, her parents, Ryo and Kyo, Tomoyo, aka barely had any screen time even though she was better than most of the girls, and Ushio. Look at how adorable she is. If I ever have a daughter, I want her to be like this little cute child. Sorry. Anyways, after getting attached to these characters, shit hits the fan. And that's when you care. It's these connections that matter. Wanting to watch what happens to them shows interest in these characters. The anime also knows that these are the people to watch, so it focuses on them the most. But Armageddon Soldier, why are they interesting characters? Well, I'll give you some examples. Tomoya is relatable in the sense that he's a slacker and doesn't care about anything much. His home life explains his personality well. Along comes Nagisa, a shy girl who's always thinking of herself as a burden. Tomoya decides to help her because he can't help seeing people in need, much like his younger self, go through problems without support. Okay, I know what I just said is just me speculating the thought process of Tomoya, but that's the great part. Deciphering why these characters are doing these things based on personality and backstory makes them feel more real. Back to what I was saying. They both grow from each other's support and create a relationship that feels authentic. All of that was just from 2 characters. Imagine if I went into full detail of other peoples that I mentioned. Much like the mix of real-life situations and magical phenomenons, humor and drama mix well in the anime. The humor is used very well in this series, making you enjoy the bickering of the 2 different characters. Though the humor can get a bit cheesy, which I will touch on later, the humor can end up being funnier than shows or movies that are solely comedies. And when the drama becomes heavy, it's fucking heavy. All humor goes away and only comes back when enough time has passed on an emotional situation. I couldn't ask for a better blend of 2 totally different things. Though there are definitely memorable tear-shedding scenes, some other parts come off as swing and a miss. For example, when Nagisa got hit by a tennis ball and Tomoya was concerned for her, to the point that he carried her to the nurse's office. Kyo was being all like, "Oh, it's fine, they're cute together," and she starts crying a bit. Then her sister starts bawling like someone stabbed her or something really tragic happened right in front of her. Why are you crying so much? Stop that. Another one is when Tomoya and Ushio are on the train heading back home. When Tomoya starts crying again, it comes off as a desperate way to make the audience cry even more. We already had a wonderful reunion of father and daughter, with enough crying in it. Stop crying again. The soundtrack works so well in this anime. Yes, I know there are some songs that are there just to be there, but when an emotional scene comes up, the song is so perfectly well made that the mood is increased by the song. I mean, listen to The Palm of a Tiny Hand. What a beautiful song that plays at the end. It reminds you of the journey you took watching these characters go through situations, and it also has a little bit of the dango beat to it, which I have to mention as a cute song that works well in this anime. And when the piano notes start playing, it's almost telling us that it's almost over and makes you reflect on what you've been experiencing while also saying the series is at an end. What a perfect song that makes my eyes well up every time I hear it. Now, I really wouldn't be talking about the animation much if it weren't for a class that I took in the first year of college. The animation is fine, it's not the best I've seen, but I do have to talk about this. In the class I took, Animation 2, the assignment was to take a scene from anything animated and replicate a scene that conveys emotion. I naturally went for the Nagisa death scene, where Tomoya is in shock and then realizes his wife has died. I studied that scene and saw what it took to show emotion through animation. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. Look here. When her hand drops, Tomoya's eyes widen, and he just stares at his wife, trying to process what happened. He can't believe it at first, but then you see him realize what happened. He acknowledges that she is dead, and can't help but cry and clutch her lifeless body. That is something that I couldn't dream of replicating because of how perfect that scene was. Big moments definitely hit hard, especially after talking about the lovable characters, perfect music, and great animation. I already explained that the reunion of Tomoya and Ushio is truly a great scene. It's the first time Ushio can cry with someone to comfort her, and Tomoya finds that special thing in his life that makes him feel again. Nothing more to say other than that every other emotional scene serves their own purpose and does it well. There are moments that are a bit cheesy, like different characters cheering each other on, weird dialogue, and some humor that doesn't really land well. When a series tries to be sad or funny, there are almost always going to be weird scenes that don't work out the way they should. The relationship between Tomoya and Nagisa is truly something wonderful. They always support each other no matter what. That's the beauty of it. They don't argue with each other or show any distrust. They have a truly perfect relationship. They need each other, and the series shows that well. They have such an innocent love for each other. Though there are some people who complain at the end of Clannad that Tomoya should have gone out with blankety blank instead of Nagisa. And there are one-shot episodes that showed exactly why that wouldn't work. But they end up happy at the end. Bullshit. You don't know that. There was drama in the beginning of both of the relationships. What makes you think they would end up living happily ever after? We never see them grow to be adults or start a family. We see Nagisa, though. And it is a love story that will stand the test of time. Certainly better than those bozos in Sword Art Online.
That show is hilarious, though!
I'm kidding, I've never seen it before. But I heard it was overrated, so... The ending, although happy, seemed rushed and confusing. It felt to some like the writers wanted everyone living happily, so here's some weird bullshit. And yes, I admit it's a big bite to swallow and a lot of thought has to be put in to figure out why this thing happened. This will make the average audience confused and most likely hate the ending, even the entire anime. But... the ending does work, surprisingly. With enough research and connecting the dots of previous events, everything works out perfectly. The ending was planned all the way to the beginning and slowly gave hints and other clues on how the ending will go, but we didn't pay attention because we weren't looking for things that will create the ending. So much thought was put into this ending that it actually deserves praise. So there you go, those were all the pros and cons I found. Now it looks like about half of the anime is complete and utter shit, but they're more minor nuisances than they are plot ruining, and the pros outweigh the cons by far. But that's just my opinion, obviously. Maybe you didn't like the anime, maybe I missed something. Please tell me in the comments what you think. I encourage others to talk about what they feel, as long as you have valid arguments. And don't be a dick. There you go. Thanks for watching. Want another pros and cons of an anime? Tell me and I'll see what I can do. Like if you like the video, subscribe if you want more. Follow me on Twitter, link is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Bye.